Thank you so much for being here, sir. It does sound like we could be headed for a government shutdown. What's your response to the leader of your party in the Senate?
Yeah, I know it does seem that, and I've been one that says, hey, now I would love to restore a lot of those healthcare things. That's the right outcome, but that's a dangerous tactic if you are going to shut the government down for one of our policies do. I think it's the right thing to extend those healthcare things, but it is absolutely the wrong thing for a lot of reasons that we're going to shut our government down. I condemned it when the Republicans threatened to do that thing, and it's entirely wrong for us to do the same thing now.
And you heard Senator Schumer say that if the government shuts down, it would be on the Republicans. Who do you think would get the blame?
I don't know. I don't know. But what people will know is that that's going to have a profound impact on millions of Americans, and that's the wrong kinds of chaos that our country needs right now in this time. I mean, after the Kirk assassination and a lot of the other kinds of drama. And now for me, as a Democrat, if you are concerned by a lot of these changes that have occurred during the Trump presidency, why would you turn over a shuttered government over to Vought and the OMB to effectively remake the government in all kinds of ways? I refuse to be a part of things to empower individuals that really want to take away union workers and eliminate more kinds of parts of the government, and that would allow them to redefine exactly what's essential and what is not. And for me, I'm not sure we have the appropriate kinds of leverage. Now, to be clear, I hope they decide to restore a lot of those healthcare things. But for me, I don't think, like I said, it's the right outcome, but it's the wrong tactic at this time, always to shut our government down.
Well, if you take a look at the Wall Street Journal article, it's on the front page of the website, mass firings if the government shuts down. All right, fine. Let's talk about it with Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, dear friend. So, Newt, White House to pursue mass firings. This is Russell Vought, OMB director. This undoubtedly comes from President Trump. If the Democrats want to screw around, they want to repeal one big, beautiful bill, they want to start spending again, well, heck. And anyway, you think there's no chance for mass firings even if the government doesn't shut down? Where do you come out on this stuff?
Well, look, I think that the Democrats are in a hopeless situation. And I've been looking at people like Congresswoman Spanberger, who's running for governor of Virginia. How can she vote against keeping the government open when it is her constituents in Northern Virginia who are going to bear the brunt of any government shutdown? Now, the fact is that Schumer and to some extent Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat leaders in the House and Senate, have walked themselves into a total trap. The House Republicans under Mike Johnson's leadership have already passed a clean continuing resolution that gets them into November, gives them time to keep passing appropriations bills, had nothing in it that was a problem. For the Democrats in the Senate now to stop that bill and close the government, I think is almost suicidal. Because under the rules, the president will be able, in this kind of situation, to decide with the limited money he will have, what to spend and what not to spend. And if they start picking out various left-wing bureaucracies that, frankly, they don't care about anyway, and they begin dismantling them, you're going to see people lose their jobs who are not going to be called back.
All right, but my heart is still there with you guys in the States, and I'm just going to cut to the chase when it comes to Senator John Fetterman. It is obviously only a matter of time before he switches parties. I don't know when. He's not up for re-election until 2028, when we elect JD as number 48. But there is no way Fetterman is going to stay a Democrat. He just committed the ultimate act of political treason against his own party, whether it's involving their doubling down on their fascist, Nazi talk regarding Trump and the Republicans, or their kamikaze mission to shut down the government and hand even more power to President Trump. Fetterman is desperately trying to talk his fellow Democrats off the ledge, but they're not listening. So, as you may have heard, Senate Democrats just blocked a budget resolution that would prevent a government shutdown on, I think it's October 1st, so next week. They seem hell-bent on initiating a government shutdown for whatever reason. But John Fetterman has come out completely against it. But unfortunately, he's standing alone against his entire party, warning them that they're about to make the biggest political mistake of their lives. And he came out and said that if Democrats generally believed that we're on a fast track to autocracy, then why on earth would they surrender a shutdown government to Trump? See, a shutdown government would literally transfer all the power to govern to the executive branch. It would do exactly what the Democrats claim is their greatest fear. And so Fetterman's calling out this insane hypocrisy. Democrats claim Trump is an autocrat only to turn around and actually surrender to him, literally give him control of the entire government. Now, this is but the latest example of Fetterman standing up to his own party. After the assassination of Charlie Kirk, while tens of thousands of leftists were celebrating his death online, Fetterman did something no other Democrat had the courage to do, and he came out and denounced the whole of the Democrat rhetorical strategy of calling Republicans fascists and Nazis. He came out and said blatantly no one should ever compare anyone to Hitler, and that's because if you do, then you're going to incite somebody to say, well, then I need to go and take out Hitler. But here's where it gets absolutely devastating. Fetterman just revealed actually a YouGov survey that completely destroys the left's peaceful party narrative stuff. He found 25% of self-identified, very liberal respondents say that political violence is acceptable to promoting their political objectives. Now compare that to just 3% of conservative respondents. Now just think about that. You call yourself, the party of peace, and your other party, the extremists, but you're 8 times more likely to recommend violence to achieve your political ends.
Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to come out politics, and MAGA is still in a frenzy over the killing of Charlie Kirk, and conspiracy theories abound.
What's up? We're here with Benny Johnson.
How are we doing, man? Oh, do we get it? Our Charlie Kirk shirt. Way around. This is it? Whoa, this is amazing. No, it keeps going forever. This is incredible. Look at this lot. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I got to show. Let's show the beautiful people. Look at this. It is 9 a.m. in the morning. Check out the Charlie Kirk, the based people of Penn State. Look at this. Yes. All the way down. Yes. Charlie, 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 Charlie. Yes. What's going on? We're just going to keep walking. Look at this. What's happening? Whoa. That is an amazing beard. All the way around. This is incredible. We just got to keep going. What's happening? Look at this. Let's go back. Yes. USA. 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 USA! Thank you for coming out. This is amazing. Guys, this is amazing. The energy is unbelievable at Penn State today. And I think, is Penn State going to win today? I think so. We are here. Check us out, lot 41 at the Turning Point USA tent. We are registering voters. Pennsylvania is a red state. That's right. We are in Trump country today, red state, Pennsylvania. We are going to rock and roll. We'll be out here all day long, and we are going to win. In Charlie's honor, let's go. All right, that's right. Okay. See you out here. See you out here. Penn State strong.
Some of them are being deliberately created in order to hide the fact it was a MAGA on MAGA murder, but some seem a little more baffling at first sight. Why are some MAGA influencers making up conspiracy theories attacking their own, specifically Kirk's widow?
We have unused material from speeches that he's had that no one has heard yet. We have Sunday specials lined up to the brim because my husband was so intentional about making sure that there was enough content. Always.
He made sure we recorded everything.
Everything.
He would not do a speech unless we could get the video and the
100%. So we have speeches that no one's heard of. We have interviews that no one's heard of. We have stuff from Korea and Japan that no one's heard of.
Podcasts.
So, I mean, in the words of my husband, buckle up, because there is a lot of content to be had. And we have so many amazing things down the pipeline that we are working on currently that will
unveil in due time.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
And so,
and by the way, those are things Charlie himself
that he wanted.
He wanted. We were working on some big things, right up until the end, and we've talked about that a lot. Like a lot of the guiding vision that we're using right now to kind of steady the ship and figure out where we're going is the things Charlie himself
100%.
Told us where we were going.
100%. And similar with Turning Point USA, Charlie had a plan moving past 2030 that he's shared with the team and has implemented. So we're not going anywhere.
We have the blueprints.
We have the blueprints. We have our marching orders, and we are just remaining humble and grateful to God, and we're remaining just stewards to what God has blessed us with. And I know Charlie's going to continue to guide us, and the Lord will continue to guide us. And I just wanted to let everyone know that this is far beyond any of us sitting in these chairs. This has nothing to do with us. It never will. The glory all to God on that front. And I just am excited. It's weird to say excited, but it's also very surreal to say it, because I know that God will use all of this in a way that will glorify him, further Charlie's legacy. And Charlie's up in heaven just having...
He's rooting us on. I know that.
He's so rooting us on.
Yeah.
Well, I have an idea. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So, there are wild accusations being traded between MAGA influencers should come as no surprise. Candice Owens, for example, millions of followers on social media, has thrown out some veiled threats towards anyone, and by anyone she means other MAGA, attempting to muscle in on Kirk's vacant niche within the movement, as well as suggesting that his murder was an Israeli plot. Because despite America's over-the-top support for Israel, it's worth remembering there's a lot of anti-Semites on the far right. Pew pew Jewish space lasers. But the general infighting is sort of understandable. You're talking about people who make a lot of money tempting millions of people down conspiracy rabbit holes. Some of the grifters may even believe their evidence-light theories.
Some pretty shocking developing news coming out today, September the 26th, 2025, as take a look at the latest headlines with me. All right, breaking news coming out in about the past hour, as take a look at the live updates. Charlie Kirk shooting suspect Tyler Robinson has been charged with murder. Prosecutors seek the death penalty. Robinson, who is 22, will appear in been captured. Let's take a look at the latest headlines so you can see it for yourself. I'm also going to play for you the video footage as Donald Trump made this announcement this morning. And we are also awaiting a live press conference that will start soon, just so you can see it here. I've got the live feed up. We're going to the latest. The officials, Utah officials, the FBI have released new shooting assassination that took place yesterday. We're hearing...
You're talking about a movement who are basically trained to see conspiracies everywhere, enemies everywhere. So of course they're going to be suspicious even of one another. No honor amongst the batshit crazy.
Earlier this week, YouTube lied, and they have immediately rebanned and or denied the reinstatement of really most of the accounts that even mattered.
But one emerging conspiracy theory seems a little more baffling, trying to suggest that Kirk's widow is a child trafficking Mossad agent. Being clear, there is zero evidence for this, by the way. As far as it's possible to tell, someone has literally just made it up. But the question is why? Well, major influencers picking fights with other major influencers could just be a turf war. Charlie Kirk was a big player in MAGA circles. He had a large following. His absence leaves a bit of a power vacuum within the structure. Of course, others are going to be keen to move in. But is Erica Kirk really a threat to them? Is she even competing in any serious way for the niche left by her husband? Perhaps. I do think the turf war is real. But then I had another thought. So when you look at some of the people pushing this spaceless conspiracy theory about her, they seem to be big on Telegram, the Russian-based social media platform, which makes you wonder if this is ultimately coming from the Kremlin. And you may think, well, but doesn't Putin like MAGA? No, he doesn't. He approves of MAGA being in charge, not because he sees them as allies, but because he sees them as idiots. America is his rival. Putin would see the United States collapse into anarchy if he could. Yes, he would welcome an easing of sanctions, but his financial ties are with China, India, and elsewhere. The recent long-term economic partnership agreed with China is way more to Putin's taste than anything even Trump can offer him. Putin doesn't need MAGA to be strong. He needs America to be divided.
While we're on the subject, let's dive a little bit deeper down this rabbit hole here. Breaking. Russia fires a nuclear warning at the U.S. Bombing USA, World War III imminent, the thumbnail says, under nuclear warning. We're looking at nearly an hour long, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'll tell you what I told Grok. I don't want to watch the whole thing, but here's the transcript to a video titled Breaking. Russia fires a nuclear warning at the U.S. At Grok. Please explain. For which Grok quickly and easily shared how, number one, nuclear warning from Russia. A senior Kremlin official, Dmitry Medvedev, which we've talked about and discussed before, primarily from quotes from President Trump, talking about and discussing him before. However, he's issued a nuclear threat to the United States and Ukraine, warning that Russian weapons could render bomb shelters ineffective. And this was in response to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's comments that Russian officials should prepare for Ukrainian strikes on Russian targets, supported by U.S.-provided long-range weapons, of course. Now, granted, this sounds scary. But, if we're going to be honest here and have this discussion about filling a niche void in this turf war and ultimately trying to jockey for viewership, impressions, reach, and ultimately revenue, let's call a spade, folks. Here's the headline. Russia's ex-president, Dmitry Medvedev, warns Trump again, quote, bomb shelters won't save you from nukes. Okay, maybe this is just a blanket statement, but does anybody hold any weight in what the ex-president of Russia has to say? However, choose to get the information, the news from wherever source you would like. Just, maybe just take it with a grain of salt, folks.
So maybe these attacks on Erica Kirk are all part of making sure that even MAGA remain divided amongst themselves. And then you think, but wouldn't that risk their downfall and the emergence of a more rational US government? I don't think so. First of all, Project 2025 ensures that even if MAGA melted away in the next few years and a serious president took over by the end of the decade, they would be powerless to put right everything which Trump is currently destroying. They're too far behind now. Then there's the geopolitics. America has pulled a lot of soft power in the form of international aid, humanitarian funding, and so on. Trump is also creating a lot of friction, even with America's closest allies. They were quick to forgive and forget when Biden beat Trump, but they're not going to be complacent a second time. Permanent damage has already been done to America's stand in the world, no matter what happens. And Trump still has 3 more years to do further damage, again, no matter what happens in any elections. Besides, the MAGA project isn't going to unravel because the anti-Israeli MAGA faction are having a pop at a minor figure in the pro-Israeli faction. But it is one of the biggest sources of division within their movement, so it's a good one for any outside actor to poke at. Putin isn't trying to sculpt an America that is a strong ally for him. He's trying to destroy it, and that makes his job easier. He doesn't need to steer the US government towards any particular objective. He doesn't really care what the United States does specifically, as long as whatever it does is stupid as hell. Turn on the world, turn on your own people, Pick fights even within your own tribe. All music to the ears of the Kremlin. What a joy it must be for them that the US government is run by and heavily influenced by those who are some of the most paranoid people the country has to offer. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.
And speaking of permanent damage, our government being run by some of the dumbest and most dim-witted, I have to, sadly, share with you one of the most recent uploads from one Senator Bernie Sanders. And yeah, folks, this is going to be tough to get through, but trust me, it's going to be worth it. And I have plenty of counters, proof, arguments, and interjections that I'll be making throughout this reaction to his content.
Thank you very much for joining me. I know that there is a lot that is going on, but for one moment, let's forget about Donald Trump, Jimmy Kimmel, the UN, Charlie Kirk, Gaza, government shutdown, the other crises that we face, and the news of the day.
And I've got to hand it to Bernie Sanders, scriptwriter, for including a very strong and powerfully keyworded stuffed intro. Well done.
Let's spend a few minutes discussing what the corporately controlled media and the corporately controlled political system don't talk about very much, and frankly, do not want us to talk about. And that's the truth about what's going on in our country today. What we are witnessing right now, right before our eyes.
I'm not really sure who Bernie Sanders is referring to when he says us, because the us that they don't want us talking about certain things is the same media that is in their pocket. Unless he thinks he's actually speaking to Republicans and conservatives on the right, for which, well, then we have much bigger problems, and Bernie has completely gone senile, lost his mind, and needs to have his head examined, or perhaps just be forced to step down and remove himself from his position in Congress.
Is the rise of two very separate and distinct Americas. One for the billionaire class and one for everybody else. In one America, the richest people are becoming obscenely richer and have never, ever had it so good. That America is overflowing with unimaginable wealth, greed, and opulence that makes the Gilded Age seem very modest. And then there is a second America, an America where a majority of our people live, and they are trying to survive.
So Bernie making this argument in itself is just further creating more of a divide. Granted, he's not trying to go the aggressive and politically violent motivational route that most Democrats would, however, and the media. However, this is creating a divide because it says, look at you and look at them. Look at them and look at you and look how much better they have it and how much worse off you do. And that is part of the big problem here, folks. And granted, Bernie may pick up a few folks who are interested in this conversation, but I think for the most part, everyone that will matter is focused on violence, immigration, and probably violence, immigration, and freedom of speech, so to speak. The whole wealth gap thing, he's completely missed the mark on this one. He has not read the room yet again.
Paycheck to paycheck, and they are struggling to secure the very basic necessities of life. Nothing fancy. We're talking about food, healthcare, housing, education, and other basic needs. The simple truth is that never before in our history have so few had so much wealth and power, while at the same time, so many Americans live in economic desperation. Some examples. In the first America, one man, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, worth over $480 billion, owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Yeah, you heard that right. One man owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households.
And I would be willing to bet that that one man has probably provided more in terms of reasons behind why he has so much wealth than 52% of whatever statistic Bernie pulled out of his ass there. I mean, this is proportionate to a simple concept. You get out what you put in. And if 52% of American households ain't putting shit in, don't be surprised you ain't getting shit out.
After spending $290 million to put Trump back into the White House, Musk has become over $180 billion richer since Election Day. That's a pretty good return on his investment. But that's apparently not good enough for Mr. Musk. In order to keep him motivated as CEO, Tesla's board proposed giving him a $1 trillion pay package if he meets certain goals.
And anyone who is triggered by the word $1 trillion compensation package to keep Elon Musk motivated, just stop watching the video right now. Just click unsubscribe and just stop watching the video right now, because think about it like this. Why would Tesla offer anyone $1 trillion in compensation to keep them motivated if it wasn't going to provide them with a much greater return than what they were paying him? Okay. So that means it's just basics of economy of scale. And $1 trillion could be $100,000 depending on the performance bonus metrics that you meet in normal jobs. But you've got Elon Musk here, who has multiple multi-billion-dollar companies under his belt, extremely successful, all of them. And it makes perfect sense why Tesla would want to make sure to retain top talent. No one complains about athletes getting paid ridiculous sums of money to pitch baseballs and kick footballs and slam dunk basketballs. But if Elon Musk can essentially steer us, pun intended, well into the future, you got some folks out there who are willing to hate on him for $1 trillion to keep him motivated. Bernie, how many dollars did it take to keep Pfizer motivated during the pandemic?
$1 trillion. That's Musk. Jeff Bezos, the fourth wealthiest man in the world, has a fortune of $240 billion. He recently sailed to Venice on his $500 million yacht for his $55 million wedding, where he gave his wife a $5 million ring. Mark Zuckerberg, the third wealthiest man in the world, is worth $262 billion. He has spent $110 million to buy 11 homes in Palo Alto, California, to create his own private compound, and another $270 million for a 1,500-acre estate on an island in Hawaii with a 5,000-foot underground bunker and 3 yachts worth over $530 million.
Just quick question, Bernie. How many homes do you own? And I appreciate you not singling out Elon Musk only and then bringing in Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg into this, but mentioning Hawaii real estate really caught my attention, and I'd love for you to talk about, I don't know, Oprah Winfrey perhaps, and her Hawaii real estate.
Larry Ellison, the second wealthiest man in the world, worth $370 billion, recently became $100 billion richer in a single day. He owns a private island in Hawaii and a fleet of jets. He recently acquired Paramount, which owns CBS, and is now working to purchase CNN and TikTok. Together, these four men alone are worth more than $1.3 trillion. But it is not just them. The top 1% now owns more wealth than the bottom 93%.
But it is just them in Bernie's talking head monologue here, because he can't provide any example of anyone that isn't necessarily in some way, shape, or form support of President Trump. Okay, let's just put it like that. And the big problem here is the idea that someone is sitting here pointing fingers at you, saying how wrong this is, while also explaining how someone was able to manage to produce a substantial return on investment legally without insider trading. And they don't want to tell you, they don't want to teach you that.
So when Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades, what are they talking about?
Newsmax is, first of all, a very questionable organization that is paying multiple fines. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all? Or?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to. Again, what kind of came from.
They want instead not to teach you how to think, but what to think. And in this instance, they want you to think that you hate these people because they have so much money and so much wealth. They want you to think that you don't. They want you to think that you never will. And this is actually a part of a video that I'm working on a completely different channel about gatekeeping and high ticket offers.
All right. Gatekeeping is dead, and the future of high ticket, high priced, high ticket offers is pretty much here to stay. And I want to tell you guys about that. All right. Anyway, there's that. It's one of those things. It's like after the fact, after you've been through it, you can explain it better. And I could tell people from this experience a far better way because we've been down that road. And I think that that also applies to business, especially the end of gatekeeping and the future of high ticket offers. You probably heard this before. If you haven't, you soon will. And if you don't specifically, then maybe you're not the target customer, target market, or you've experienced it. It just wasn't explicitly explained to you in a way of high ticket offer.
But be that as it may, Bernie Sanders, he has his objective here. And look, free country, capital. He's the most capitalist socialist I've ever seen. And he's lying, in essence, presumably by omission. Does that make sense?
The 1% live in a world completely removed from the world of ordinary Americans. They haven't a clue as to what ordinary Americans experience. They don't ride overcrowded subways to get to work or sit in traffic jams to get home. They get around on private jets and helicopters. Not much of a housing crisis for them. They live in mansions all over the world, send their kids to the most elite private schools, and vacation on their own islands. And for fun, some of them spend millions flying off into space on their own rocket ships.
And I don't fucking blame them. Turn on the TV, flip through social media, talk to anybody. These wealthy millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, soon to be trillionaires have experienced this world. They have probably ridden those subways. They've been in these cities. They've sent their kids to those schools. They vacation where others have, and they said to themselves, no fucking way. No thanks. And they did what they needed to do in order to be able to do what they do now. And in essence, in theory, shield themselves, protect themselves from the shit, the bullshit, the chaos, the destruction, all that apparently is against MAGA, against Trump. Okay. I can't just say Democrats and, I can't just say the left and liberals here because Bernie falls into a special category here. But at the end of the day, it's just like everything that non-MAGA has supported to get us to this point is everything that I don't blame these extremely wealthy multimillionaires, successful business owners, entrepreneurs, billionaires, and soon to be trillionaires from distancing themselves from, because why the fuck not?
That's one America. But here is the other America, where the vast majority of our people live. For them, the economy is not just broken, it is in many respects collapsing. In this America, despite a massive increase in worker productivity, real weekly wages for the average American worker are lower today than they were more than 52 years ago. In this America, people are unable to afford a doctor's visit if they're lucky enough to find a doctor. They are paying over half of their limited incomes on rent or a mortgage and are unable to afford the outrageously high cost of childcare or the ability to send their kids to college. In this America, the price of vegetables, fruit, and other healthy foods is beyond the budget for many.
And in this America, we are still licking our wounds and trying to recover from the last 4 years. I mean, look, Trump doesn't have a magic wand, okay? And, he is doing the best that he can, but this didn't happen overnight, Bernie, okay? And if you want to talk about a vast majority of people living in America that's just broken, don't even fucking get me started on California and what Gavin Newsom is doing to the homeowners that are being kicked out after their lives being turned upside down, lit on fire after the fire that happened in the Palisades.
What would you say to the mayor after learning all this?
I'd give her my weed whacker and ask her to do it herself. See if she could handle it.
Do you think she understands what you're going through?
I don't give a really. I wouldn't have the patience to talk to someone like that.
You start to come back. You start to figure it out, right? A little time passes, and then you get something in the mail.
So, yeah, we get this notice of noncompliance from the City of Los Angeles Fire Department that says, sorry that your house burned down, but go clear your brush or you're going to be fined $750. And if you don't do it, then we're going to do it, and then you're going to have to pay for our crew to do that.
When you first read that,
I laughed. I laughed. I thought it was a joke because, I mean, who does that, right? Where were they 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 months ago, if they were that concerned?
What we found is that you're not alone. All these red dots are other homeowners whose homes were burned in some way who also got cited this time around.
Wow. It's hilarious. It's the entire area that burned.
This is about 300 homes. These are 300 families that are in the same situation as you. Is this outrageous?
It is.
I mean, what does this say about how the fire department is working and how the city's working?
I think it's just a misplaced attention to the wrong area.
Come on now, Bernie.
For most Americans, the system is not just broken. It is collapsing, and it is increasingly resembling life in the third world. Everyone needs health care. It's not a radical idea. Yet today, over 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured, a number that will rise by at least 15 million because of Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill and massive cuts to Medicaid and the ACA. Everyone needs housing. Yet today, nearly 800,000 Americans are homeless, and over 20 million households pay more than 50% of their limited incomes on rent or a mortgage. Now, how do you have any money left over for anything if you're spending 50% of your income for housing?
And that's a damn good question, Bernie. How much money do you have? How much money do you have left over after starting your career as a politician and now having amassed a tremendous amount of wealth? How about you share those strategies and those secrets with the 52% of America who you say are living in a country where it is collapsing? Oh, yeah. And talking about the price of fruit and vegetables as if you're presenting this as a healthy food choice option. Well, for those who receive government-supported subsidies, i.e. food stamps and EBT, why don't you just make it so that they can afford it? Why don't you just make it so that they can afford fruits and vegetables? Or better yet, you know what? They can, because I've seen the balances, I've seen the receipts, but instead you allow them to buy junk food, processed sugar, garbage and crap, sodas and candies. Come on, Bernie. You're going to have to tell your script writers to do a little bit better than that.
Since the year 2000, average rents have more than doubled, and the median price of a home today has soared to more than $435,000. Everyone needs a decent education. You cannot survive in this world today without a good education. Yet today, our child care system is broken and widely expensive. Many of our public schools are dilapidated with teachers underpaid and underappreciated. And American students are falling behind in math, science, and reading compared to their international peers.
Now, if you want to piss off some potential voters, just let them know that, as educators, as teachers, they are being grossly underpaid. How about that, Bernie? Because there is, and maybe this just may be unfortunately ill-timed from the time of which this was written, recorded, edited, and then uploaded and published. But, I kind of find it really, really hard to have this conversation, to try and draw these connections when apparently there are certain school boards that have ample funds. For instance, Des Moines, Iowa Public Schools. How about those guys? And how the Des Moines, Iowa Public Schools, and their all-female school board hired a new superintendent based purely on his skin color. Not only was he an illegal alien and a fugitive from justice, he lacked the basic education and experience to lead the state's largest school district. Armed with an illegal firearm, Ian Andre Roberts charmed the pants off of every member of the female board. The only box he could have possibly checked for the board and district was the color of his skin. Did the board know he was an illegal immigrant and fugitive from justice? I don't know, but of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 female faces there, how many of those do you think got their cheeks clapped by Ian Andre Roberts? Oh, and by the way, Ian Andre Roberts received this position as superintendent, Scott Jennings asks, just like I would, so you mean to tell me that Michelle Obama's chief of staff hired an illegal alien with a fake degree and a criminal record to be the head of the public schools in Des Moines, Iowa? How could that be the case? However, an even better question would be, how could they afford to pay him so much money? The illegal who was superintendent of Des Moines DM schools was making $270,000 as a base salary. Your tax dollars paid an illegal with a criminal record to run a massive school district. He also got a 3.5% pay increase the same time his final deportation order was issued in 2024. Unreal. And I know what you're saying. Orange man bad, ICE bad, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, deportation bad. His final notice was in 2024, folks. May of 2024. Might I remind you who was president at that time? Rep. Andy Biggs says that if you live in Iowa, your tax dollars paid an illegal alien a $300,000 salary to oversee students and teachers. Unacceptable. We need mass deportations now. No, we need the truth. We need, granted, we watched that video earlier, a different bias. That's the problem. Everyone's got a different bias. And Bernie Sanders is no exception. What we need is a completely different bias. And perhaps maybe that's what I'm providing you. The bias of truth and transparency and education and information, an end to gatekeeping and victim mentality and all the things that everyone would want to pitch to you as a reason, as a bribe to vote for them. And I don't think that President Trump did that. I don't think J.D. Vance will do that. I don't think true MAGA at heart wants to bribe voters. No. You know why? They don't need to. Because we're the party of common sense.
College education is unaffordable for millions, and vocational schools are failing to train the workers we desperately need. Everyone wants a secure retirement. Yet nearly half of older workers have no retirement savings and no idea as to how they will ever retire with any shred of dignity or respect. Meanwhile, 22% of seniors are trying to survive on an income of less than $15,000 a year.
Meanwhile, Democrats, for the last 4 years, allowed the Social Security Trust Fund to fall into a deficit and run out of funds before you can even blink an eye is how fast that would happen. So spare me the sob story here, Bernie. You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. So you're starting to feel a lot like Kamala Harris. Is that what you really want, Bernie? Do you want to be Kamala Harris?
Enough is enough. It's absolutely imperative that we understand the reality of what is going on today and the need to bring about the fundamental changes that are required to create a government and an economy that work for all and not just the few. America is not supposed to be a nation run by a handful of unbelievably wealthy oligarchs.
And I just feel that it's only appropriate to point out Bernie's salute.
While at the same time, a majority of our people struggle to afford the very basic necessities of life. That's not what America is supposed to be about. So let us stand together, let us go forward, and let us create the kind of nation that you and I know that we can become. Thank you very much.
Like I told you guys, it was going to be brutal. It was going to be a challenge to push through, but we made it to the end of this video. And Bernie says that we can do better. We can create this America, yet he provided zero indication of how that would happen besides from what I can only extract from this, which is you should hate people who make a lot of money. You should hate Trump supporters who make or have a lot of wealth. That's just how I take it, you know, but there is some hope out there. There are some resources. For instance, the video we talked about earlier of breaking Russia fires a nuclear weapon at the U.S. You should be afraid, but you should also dig real deep into the description because you can find the best way to invest in gold and silver is with Lear Capital. So he says, and yeah, that's all. Just invest in gold with Lear Capital. You know, granted, we're on the brink of World War, and 52% of Americans are living in a country that is collapsing on them. But hey, what do I know? You know, maybe I should listen to Bernie Sanders more and the like, rather than, I don't know, Fox News and their guest here, Newt Gingrich, and the latest, most recent updates about the current state of this country and the economy and the direction that we're going, and how Democrats are continuously trying to kneecap the entire country. For what purpose? For what reason? You guys let me know.
And I think that the Democrats are really playing with nitroglycerin or dynamite right now because all the strength is on the president's side. We just did a survey at America's New Majority Project, and it's clear the American people do not want to increase spending. They would like to keep the government open, but not at the cost of massive increases in spending. And when they learn that the Democrats are demanding increases in spending while the Republicans are passing a clean continuing resolution, over 40% of the country blames the Democrats for being unreasonable. So I think this was an amazing moment.
Here's the Trump effect. We just got today. The GDP for Mr. Trump's first quarter, up almost 4% at an annual rate, okay? The big government socialists that you taught me that name, the Biden crowd not got anything close to that. 4%. The stock market since early April is up about 35%. And the Democrats want to shut down the government. Oh, the Democrats want to break one big, beautiful bill. You know, Newt, people are using already their retroactive tax cuts to buy business equipment and machinery and start building factories, which means the hiring is going to start very soon. Do you know business was stronger than consumers in this GDP report because they're spending the tax cuts already that was, and the Democrats want to repeal this? Really? Heck, Let them go ahead and repeal it. They'll vote themselves out of office for the next 25 years.
Look, you know as well as I do that repealing it or failing to pass it would have been the largest tax increase in American history.
Yes.
And at America's New Majority Project, we discovered 84% of the country, 84% was opposed to the largest tax increase in history. And yet every Democrat in the House and Senate voted functionally for the largest tax increase in history. They're off the deep end. This is why Gallup just reported that they're now down to 34% approval or favorable, which is the lowest favorable number for the Democratic Party in the history of Gallup's polls. I mean, these folks are just, it's almost like they're in the middle of quicksand and seeing how fast they can sink.
4% growth, Newt. 35% stock market.
Well,
really, the Trump effect. The Trump effect is what I'm calling it.
remember, Larry, I said to you, next year the campaign is going to be a Trump boom versus Democrats gloom. And that's what the choice is going to be in 26.
You know what? There's a poll out. I got to go. There's a poll out. This guy, Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey. I don't know if anybody. He's running even with the left-wing Democrat. This is wonderful things are happening anyway outside of New York City.
Yep.
Newt Gingrich, you're wonderful. Thanks for helping us. We appreciate it ever so much.
Glad to do it.